National Silver Medalist and Commandant's Bronze Medalist. His illustrious career includes serving as Chief Engineer for United Nations in Iraq-Kuwait post the Gulf War and leading major infrastructure projects including constructing a 227-kilometer international highway from Iran to Afghanistan. He currently spearheads initiatives in elder care and defense training.
Hailing from Palakkad, Kerala, Colonel Y. Vijay Kumar completed his education at St. Albert and Rajgiri College, Kochi. Before joining the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, commissioned into the 12th Battalion, the Madras Regiment in 1995. He has served extensively across India's northern, western and eastern borders, including the multiple counter-terrorism tenure in Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, the northeast. He also served as the United Nations military observer in the Democratic Republic in Congo, having commanded his battalion along with the international border in Rajasthan and the LAC in Ladakh. He now serves the group commander of NCC Group, Fiji.
Commissioned into the Aeronautical Engineering branch of the Indian Air Force in 2002, Wing Commander K. Subhash has held key positions across the country, including Senior Engineer at ASTE Bangalore and Staff Officer at Air Headquarters. Trained in Air Force networks, he is also a qualified physiologist for the Armed Forces Selection Board. Holding a BTech in Electronic Engineer and an MS in Software System, he currently commands the 3TN 8 Squadron, Tiruchirappalli. A passionate marathon runner and avid reader, he embodies both technical expertise and leadership. We now hand over the proceedings of the ceremony to Flight Cadet Dibinsha and Flight Cadet Rajdarshini.
Good evening, sir. I'm Flight Cadet Rajdarshini.
I'm Flight Cadet Dibinsha. It is an absolute honor to welcome you all to the distinguished panel discussion. Today we have the privilege hearing from some of the most esteemed leaders in the armed force, individuals whose service, experience and strategic insight have played a vital role in national security and defense operations.
Your first time in our campus. How was your journey, sir?
Not the first time I lived here. 80s, my younger brother is from this institute. Quite familiar. I had earlier come here to give a TED talk on transgenders.
No, I have an affiliation with this college now. I think I must be coming here for the 7th or 8th time in the last 5 or 7 years. So, not new.
Second time I'm here. I was here with my friends when they were doing a fantastic campus, I would say.
For me, I had got admission in this college around 20 years before, but I didn't join here. So it was like something like a missed opportunity of seeing the campus. So we were here, we had conducted a camp around 3 months before. So I keep coming here, my cadets are here. So it's good campus.
Thank you, sir.
Without much further delay, let's begin with the questionnaire. With India emerging as a global startup hub, how can the government and armed force collaborate to support defense technology startup and innovation?
It's a good question. In fact, this question should be more being answered by all of you who are the future engineers and future technical guys. Okay, what your needs are, what the country's needs are, and what are you really aspiring to look into in the future. I'll speak last. I'll request Colonel Vijay Kumar. They are going to hold a seminar exactly on this topic. If I'm not wrong, about a few years back, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had come to Trichy, and she had declared this area as a primarily to create the startups that are needed for the defense forces. And I take it almost it's 4 or 5 years back at it. And she wanted actually Madurai, Coimbatore and Trichy, with Trichy as a central point, and creating the defense corridor with all kind of startups which are defense oriented. Okay. The concept which was envisaged or is envisaged is that first 40-50 years, all that was needed by the defense forces was manufactured by public sector undertakings. It was never privatized. And what is produced by them in whatever quantity or quality was absorbed by the armed forces. But for the last decade or so, we have taken a very deliberate posture of exporting these items to other countries and making it into a commercial hub. Because it's not only the developing countries, but also the underdeveloped countries which are actually looking for both hardware. When I say hardware, I'm talking about the weapon systems, the small arms, the missile systems, the RPGs, the ammunition part of it, and the software also. All these countries are looking forward for getting it much cheaper than what they are getting it right now from the developed countries. So there is a huge scope for lot of these being exported to other countries, and I think India is on the right track, and our defense exports have jumped a mile, and it's a long way to go, and we need to keep pushing this bar up and up. And for that, one of the major requirements is our startups in the defense areas, and not only the startups, existing industries which are commercial hubs must get into the defense requirements, and that is whether it is the space, whether it is the Air Force requirements, the naval requirements, or the Army's requirements. There is a huge area where civilian industries can get involved. And if you take Bajaj, they're right now producing the howitzers, the guns, the barrels. So missiles are being outsourced. The aircraft parts are being outsourced. Including the Boeings, they're getting outsourced. And a lot of industries have come up. Unfortunately, in Endeavour, I was also one of the part of the score team when Nirmala Sitharaman had come here. We tried a lot for entrepreneurs to come up in Tiruchi. Basically, we wanted to establish industries in Tiruchi. And it was to our misfortune that there are very few takers, unfortunately. Okay. So, if any industry to come up, firstly you need an entrepreneur who should be willing to start an industry. What the armed forces can give you is a captive market. They will give you the items that are required by them, and they will procure it from you, which means you don't have to go and market it anyway, which is a major exercise if you have an industry. I run 2 industries, so I know exactly what is needed. We may be good in manufacturing, but marketing is a major key area where you have to be equally good at. And for that, you have a captive market in the form of defense forces, and they will do the rest of the things. But even then, it was so difficult to find entrepreneurs who are ready to get into this field. Unfortunately, Trichy is more an agrarian belt where people have agriculture as their main base, come and settle down here with the money they make out of agriculture, and then live a comfortable retired life. You have more doctors, educationalists, but entrepreneurs very little, unlike Coimbatore and Madurai. Okay. But there is a need, in spite of we having NIT and here. Okay, BHL has been created here during Kamaraj's time, and that's the end all. After that, there is nothing much that has come up here. Okay, we have an ordnance factory, we have a BHEL, and we have an NIT. But when you look back at the history, these are all almost 40, 50 years back. These institutions have come up, and nothing beyond that. So I think there is a lot of scope in Tiruchi to come up. And another reason being, Tiruchi is a central place for entire Tamil Nadu. And it is well connected in the form of communication, whether it is airport or railways or bus service or road network. Tiruchi is a very, very well connected place. So it could develop into a good industrial belt. But unfortunately, we are still in the very nascent stage. Now, when you come down to your startups or the requirements of the armed forces, normally what happens in a country like United States, I know because my brother studied here in NIT, he was a chemical engineer, gold medalist from here, and then of course went to US, settled down there, and he's a triple PhD, but he's an R&D guy. He retired as vice president of BD. He used to always tell me, because he was in the R&D, the methodology they used to follow is every quarter they used to issue a manual. The government used to issue a manual, and the manual used to contain all the requirements of all industries. That means anything new that they want would be published in that industry. What we call as qualitative requirements for a particular product used to be in that inventory. Now it is for the scientists, depending on whether he's a scientist on his own or as a group or as an institution or as an industry. They pick up whatever they can do. The choice of doing what they can do is up to them. So they come up with the prototype modeling. And once the modeling is done, they present it to the people who need it. And once it's approved, then funding takes place, both through the government, through the private industries, and through other people. You can set up your own industry to produce the same product, and they have a ready-made market. So it's a very well-oiled system. The requirement is posed, you pick up what you feel you can do and what you can achieve in this field, and then you work on the prototype, present your prototype, and if your prototype is okay, then they approve and they also fund you. So you can become an entrepreneur straight away on somebody else's cost, provided you have the brains to get it going. Now we are nowhere near that. What here the army is doing or armed forces is doing is they will tell you what they want. It's not that you're on a wild goose chase. They will tell you what you want. You need to work on it, come up with the prototype, set up the industry. They will buy the product. That's how it goes. Okay. So we still have a long way to go. We are just switching this modeling. But what is really required is we have to move from the existing DRDO, which is the only research as far as our defense forces are concerned. We have to switch from there into R&D in institutions, R&D in industries. Because if you take the United States, they spend almost 10 to 15% of their profits in R&D. And that is the reason why they are 50 years ahead of all of us in technology. If we have to go anywhere near and catch up with them, we need to do a huge amount of investment in innovative thinking. Unfortunately, our educational system, like you must be seeing in YouTube and other places and all, our educational system needs a lot of tweaking. Skill development and innovative thinking should be the backbone of our educational system. Whereas our educational system has been designed by the Britishers, which we carry on now, to become good servants. We like to go and serve somewhere rather than be leaders. And that tweaking has to take place, and I think it is taking place in the right direction. Maybe it will take another 5-10 years, but I am sure it will all give us a lot of dividends in the future when you guys grow up. I just request Colonel Vijay, who is going to conduct a seminar on this subject itself, to say a few words.
Thank you, sir. So the general is and Babu has covered the topic very comprehensively. Nothing much for me to add, but I'll just emphasize the second part that he was talking about. Or the first part, of course, you introduce our country as a leader in leading startup hub surely that's what where we aspire to be. Hopefully, by the time you guys become an entrepreneurs and you take the country to a different level in, say, the next 10, 15, 20 years, we hopefully are there. But the bottom line here is we have a very vibrant startup ecosystem here, as in date. Right, the kind of government support, the kind of support given by both the central government and almost all the state governments, it's amazing right now. So what General Babu was talking about, if you have an idea, there are projects which are existing where you will be handheld through the entire process without you having to really take that risk of putting in the complete capital and risking the complete, your complete service by taking the risk of being an entrepreneur at the very first phase of your career. So this was one of the mandates given to us, because I'm leading the MCC here. So one of the mandates given by the central government to the DGMCC and through the DGMCC to us is to make you understand the nuances of what actually exists to do this hand-holding and incubation. In connection to that, we were supposed to be doing a seminar tomorrow actually, but because we wanted it to have some people with a lot of experience and first-hand experience on this, we wanted their availability to be sure. So this is possibly going to take place in the next 25th of this month, if not in April, hopefully in 25th of this month. So there we intend to link you up with all those people. Firstly, people from the services who will be able to tell you what exactly are the problem areas where we want you to intervene. We have people from the entrepreneurs or from the industry or the defense industry who will be able to tell you how you can take that lead. You will have people from the government, that is the state government and the central government, who will be able to tell you what are the schemes that exist and what are those steps that you need to take to reach there. Hopefully once you go through it, you'll be much clearer. I don't want to talk more about this topic now. I hope that's clear. Thank you. Would somebody else like to?
The point has been already covered. Government is doing a lot of awareness program about startups and MSMEs coming into defense industry. There is a scheme called IDEX, that is Innovation for Defense Excellence. You must have heard that thing, where they encourage the startups and the MSME. You must be aware, medium, small scale industries which are of lower scale nature, which is available all over the country. So they have been given problem statements which in their level they can do, and many other steps like R&D, increased expenditure in R&D, then taking ideas from this innovation hubs like in IITs, ISCs, and all these are set up. Many of these are for defense and defense requirement. So all of you as the future of nation, you all can take part in that thing. Defense industries need ideas, and your innovations are the solution for this.
Adding points to that, I would say that we are slowly lining up towards what General Babu sir has said, that the Indian Navy has given a document which states that what are the items which have to be purchased through Atmanirbhar. So it is very clear that we are on the same page. What we require is more leaders and risk takers who can take up startups and really deliver what the Indian Armed Forces require. To quote an example, I would say Lieutenant Colonel V.S. Whelan, who has established Elena Geosystems. So they are the first company to indigenously produce NAVIC-based locational services. I think we need more engineers coming up with more startups. I think the ecosystem for MSME establishment and even at the bigger level, right? So I think the incubation cells at various institutions again promoting further. So I think NIT should be able to do that in future down the line. .
'Cause
I just like to add a point. We were talking more about hardware, industries, and things like that. There's an area of software too. For example, whether it is GPS, we are now dependent on somebody else, some other country, their links. Whether it is Google platform, your Microsoft. We need to go and have our own systems in place. Otherwise, you can be rest assured in times of crisis, in times of war, these services you can be blackmailed. The best example right now is Ukraine. Okay, if just because Zelensky refused to sign the so-called mineral document, Starlink stopped providing all intelligence. Once Starlink stopped producing, giving any intelligence, that window of few days was enough for Putin to launch an offensive and capture a major city in Ukraine. Now that's how subservient you become when you get into dependent systems. Now those should be secure, and those are the ones which we should be using, and not the Google platforms and this platforms and Microsoft platforms which the Americans control. Okay, that's another software form we don't have. The Chinese have all this. Now the next generation is the AI. You know, the Chinese have come up with a deepfake. Now, if they can come up with something like that, there is no reason why we, with all that intelligence we have, all the best institutions we have, we don't have a system like that. Unless our mind starts racing in those directions, we will be just following what these people dish out to us. That's what I thought I would like to add to all of it. Okay. Now, the first question has been to some extent covered by all of us. Let's have questions from you on this particular question itself. Anything you want us to clarify. But if we go down to the fifth and sixth question, the first question is generally forgotten. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I said I will not give a talk, because a talk is a one-way street. You know, I can come and talk, and at the end of the day, if you don't have questions, I walk out from here. Let's have an interactive session. You can ask them if they on this particular question, if there are any doubts and any questions which they want to ask, and we are here as a panel to answer them.
Any questions?
Make use of us. Yeah, please. I would like more and more people to join in, and it should be just an interactive session. Yeah. You got a mic? Yeah.
Good evening, sir. You said previously that government has a lot of initiatives to support the defense. So about what you said about Starlink, we are also getting Starlink in India. So what are your views on that? Because you also said that it can be used to blackmail us. So if it gets in India, then we can also get in trouble. And BSNL also has the same satellite services. So if you use Starlink, it will hamper it and also throws.
Good question. What's your name?
Rishabh Jarwal.
Rishabh. Okay, Rishabh, I'm waiting for you to grow very fast and become a Musk. Okay, so that we have our own Starlink. So long as we don't have a Starlink, we have to keep borrowing it. I don't want that happening. I want the brains here to start actively thinking to become Atmanirbhar. We don't want to be dependent on any of these guys. Let me assure you, with my experience in dealing with backdoor diplomacy, ambassadors of various nations, being abroad many times, what you see in TV and read in newspaper is just 5% of what really happens. 80 to 90% is all backdoor diplomacy. Okay, and now if you really see when Trump has taken over, what all dirty things that the United States has been doing is all being washed publicly. Okay, and that's the real story. All the disturbances around the globe is being done purely on one single agenda called as national interest or individual thought process. We don't matter. Human beings don't matter. Okay, so we have to become Atmanirbhar, and it is very important that you guys have to rise up. Okay, we have finished our life. We are in the fag end of our life, you know. So, but you guys have got a long way to go. Okay? So my humble submission to you is start thinking in those lines that anything and everything is possible by us as a nation. Like what most of the people say, we used to be a country of thinkers. We used to be a country of seekers. Unfortunately, we have become a country of believers. Somebody says something, we believe that. Some institution teaches us something, we say that is the final thing and go. Earlier, everything used to be questioned by us. The mind used to be always. I can hear you. We can hear you. Wonderful progress, isn't it? Wonderful progress. So you should look at becoming an astronaut. Yeah, why not? Okay. Yeah, if you're interested in flying, it all starts with the interest in flying as a carrier. You start flying the fighters, and then you move on to becoming an astronaut, fly the spaceships, dock yourself like Sunita Williams. Maybe you can stay longer than her. Okay, but I think it's a wonderful way forward, because what I see 20 years from now, space is going to be a major area. But I remember in 1984, we went to construct the first station in Antarctica. At that time, one of the biggest agenda points is, why is a poor country like India venturing out to construct a station in Antarctica when people are dying? Okay, the same question which Rahul Gandhi keeps asking now, even now in the 21st century. The question is that it was needed at that time to stake claims in Antarctica, the forbidden land. Okay, because that's far thinking that at that particular point Indira Gandhi thought about. So we went and constructed the first station. Space is the future. So we need to have our station in see, the moment you landed in moon, we were the which country, number of country which has landed in moon? The fifth country who landed in moon. Fifth or the third or fourth? We are the first one to land on the dark side of the moon, isn't it? And we were the third or fourth country to land on the moon. Whichever it is, whether it is third, fourth, or fifth, we became a international news, because we are now, as a nation, we used to be in the what do you call, somewhere in the last when considered internationally how progressive we were, and in just a decade, now these countries are looking at us as third, fourth, or fifth in the whole world. Okay, I'm sure all of you are aware we are moving towards the third largest economy. Okay, we are the largest population in any case. Okay, population means there is no need to smile, because population is the key. It is the market and it is the youth. Both are strengths, not weaknesses. And we have to be very clear on that this is a strength and not a weakness. So we are there. Only thing is, we need to get our act slightly together and look at, as a nation, progressing the way we want to progress, we want to see. Okay. And space station is, of course, a thing. We have our own space station. Probably we will be the third or fourth have to have our own space station. And probably you will be in connect with USA, the US, Russia, and maybe some guys like Musk and characters who will be using our space station, and it will be a joint venture altogether. Okay, world is the limit. Yeah. Okay, good question. See, today warfare has totally changed into drone warfare. Right now, when you see the fight between Russia and Ukraine taking place, hundreds of drones are being launched into other countries. Earlier, we used to talk about aircrafts flying into other countries. Now, drones are flying. Now, they're all not manned. They're all unmanned, and they carry missiles. Now, you can have even unmanned aircrafts. Basically, all this is for only one reason: we do not want human wastage in case you get shot down. Okay, whatever they can do, you can do from sitting in the ground. It's basically the technology that has improved that way. Okay. So it's the future. The future is there. So we need to be looking at how well and how much pace we keep with these developed countries. And I think we are doing a good job. And I think our drones are also coming up. Indigenous drones are coming up, which the Army, Navy, and the Air Force are procuring indigenous made drones. And technology has to go still far ahead for various aspects of what can be used by the drones, whether it is for aerial photography, or whether it is reconnaissance, or whether it is for fighting, or what kind of missiles can be loaded, because every missile has got a weight component, and to carry that weight and launch that missile, you need to have a suitable framework of the drone. The size of the drone will keep changing accordingly. Okay, the larger it gets, it becomes more vulnerable. Okay, it can be shot down. So all these aspects needs to be kept in mind. But the future is in drone technology, and I'm sure our Air Force friend here will totally agree with me. And he's already must be fighting that entire drone should come under the Air Force. That's another fight which we keep having between the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. See, what do you mean by a defense hub? Basically, you need industries. You need to set up industries which can make the product which the armed forces needs. They will give you the product that needed by the army or navy or air force, and those products which we are right now importing from outside needs to be indigenously produced. And who is going to produce it? It's the industry that has to be produced. So when you want to create an industry, there are 2-3 things that are important. One is you should know what you are producing, isn't it? If you don't know what you are producing, there is no meaning of creating an industry. Secondly, you need the money to invest in creating that industry, which means not only the land, the building, the machines, everything else, the raw material that is needed to make that machine, and the trained people to make those parts. Finally, the product comes out with the required quality. And you need not have to market it, taking it out. It is readily bought by the system. Okay. So one part of it, the government will give you the requirement. It will take back the product. But how many of you are willing to do the middle thing, like trading the industry? Because they can only show you a path. You need to put your money, and that is where I found Trichy was lacking actually. Okay, there are people who are ready to work, like you say, you're also looking at, I'm ready to work, but you need to take one step further to be an entrepreneur. Okay, that is what is missing in our today's mindset. And those people who are ready to take that risk and jump into entrepreneur, they become rich and ultra rich based on how well they do in their life. Okay, and that's something which is missing, and that we need to actually look at it. That's why I was telling you again, we need to look at going back into our educational system to make you an inventor. You need to be a guy who needs to invent things. Your mind should be working in that direction, not somebody else telling you, you make this product and I keep making that product. Yeah, have I answered that question? Okay, anybody else? Yeah, please. Just feel free today, we have enough time.
But our country is also the first country which introduced the word UPI, that is payment. Government has been for a long time. Why do you think that? And not that. Have government which work with advanced companies. Why do you think that we have not developed such a search engine that we can depend on for our country's requirements?
Basically, it's a global positioning system. It needs a series of satellites, basically. global positioning satellites, which can actually see over your country at all times. So we are getting there. We have something which we have created. By the ISRO has created something, if I'm not wrong, and that is being used by, to some extent, by the Navy and the Air Force and the Army, but it's still not become kind of open to public like what the GPS system is there of the American system. Okay, we still go and download in our mobiles and everywhere. You know, that is the kind of we should just get over this downloading of GPS and we should get on to our own system, whether it is location finding, okay, whether it is we have still not gone there. We not, I won't say we do lack the ability to go there. Somehow we have still not reached there, but I'm sure we are working towards that. How long it will take, probably the government will know better, but definitely it is a need of the hour. It's a need of the hour. We need to make sure that we are independent of global interference at the times of our needs. Okay. Anybody else can throw some light? Anybody
To add that India is doing good in satellite technology. You must be aware that despite being a not so developed country, we were able to send satellites to orbit for our own requirement. Our requirements were different, like weather prediction, crops and other things, which were the minimum requirement for an emerging developing country. Defense and network was not a priority during that time, but still we have a GPS satellite which covers our area, the Indian Ocean area and the entire till the China border. Already it is existing now. The name you can Google, you'll get it. Overall, the global presence was not our aim. Maybe after some time we may require, but we are making good progress in that area.
Any other questions? Please. I think you need a mic.
Jai Hind, sir. My question is how advanced maintained remote sensing technology will play a crucial role in defense forces?
How remote sensing?
Plays a crucial role in armed forces. What are the areas should be developed under remote sensing for the defense technology?
Anybody? Exactly, I have not really understood what exactly you are asking. Remote sensing for what?
Remote sensing is.
Can you explain to a layman?
Like remote sensing includes the observation of Earth and it also includes GPS and all. So does it plays a crucial role in defense?
Yeah, basically, I'm sure you're aware of various types of satellites. You know, whether it is sun synchronous or your global positioning satellites. Each one is orbiting at different heights and different and each one is for different requirements. Okay. Suppose sun synchronous satellites are basically going around the Earth over a period of time. It will come back into the same location. Okay, and those are meant for sensing actually. What are the changes that take place in a terrain every round it takes? Which means every time you picturize say NIT, you may be sitting here now. Then in the next round you may be sitting in your hostel room. Okay. So when I see the two pictures, I know where you moved, where you were and where you moved. And that is very important as far as the armed forces requirement is concerned. Because that is how we determine how the mobilization takes place, how the enmassing of troops take place, which areas are getting this thing. Whether our aircraft, when they go in, one of the when you remember when we went into Balakot or Uri, one of the main reasons, one of the main things which we were looking at is these sensing satellites, whether they will pick up our movement. Okay, so same thing happened when our nuclear blast took place. We were looking at American satellites because they will detect any movement that is taking place in Pokhran. So we only moved when the satellite was not looking into our place, and that is why they were taken by surprise when the actual blast took place. So all this is there existing. I'm talking about when we did the nuclear blast during Vajpayee's time. Okay, right from that time this is happening. But we have come a long way in, as Sir said, that come a long way in manufacturing our own satellites, putting that in orbit, and now we are putting in orbit satellites from other countries too. So we have come a long way in satellite technology.
Thank you, sir.
And remote sensing, I also understand that you are also looking at geological survey, okay, oceanography, okay. You can actually map the ocean, you can map the terrain, okay. You can find out what minerals are available where. So there is a whole lot of sensing devices which can detect all these things. All that is existing in our. In fact, we are now helping other countries. In fact, our geological survey ship was off the coast of Sri Lanka, helping them map their entire mineral resources. Same thing with Mauritius also. So we are now looking outwards rather than only looking at ourselves. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
That being innovation. So when focus on innovation, standards also, but both of them are because can't come to a standards. Ask himself to question each and every standard. But on the other hand, as defense, biggest market, but defense they need each and every. If they want to take any technology. So as an startup,
Listen up. What I talked about was innovative mind. Okay, every time you go into only an innovative mind that will come up with solutions. Otherwise, you go into repetitive making. Once you set up certain standards that this is how my end product should be, then it's like a chain. Okay, the product comes out and then finally you put it to the quality checks and then you pass it and then you sell it. So the question is, innovative mind comes for actually creating that product. Inventions. That's not what we are looking at here. We are looking at products already defined to you what they need, and you need to come up with a product with the right quality. And for that, all help is being provided by the government, and we need more takers. We need more people who are ready to venture into it, and that needs a different kind of energy level. Okay, to start a small industry needs a different energy level. To go and work in an industry, it needs a different energy level. So we are looking at people who can actually start industries and manage industries and produce products that the nation needs.
For the questions.
Moving on to the next question. The Agnipath scheme has sparked debates on its long-term impact on military. What are your respective perspectives about this new model of recruitment?
Okay, I was just wondering who has asked this question. Anybody here who has asked this question? Anybody? Nobody. How did this question come up? Okay. Are you all aware what Agnipath scheme is? Are you all aware, or I have to start from scratch? Scratch. Okay. Okay. Chaudhary, you started an industry. Now you want people for your industry. Who is the best judge to say what is the kind of people you need for your industry? It's your industry. You know the product. Who is the best person to say what is the kind of people you need for your industry? It's your industry, yeah. Who is the right guy to say, for my industry, I need this, what kind of a person? It is you. Only you have to decide on what kind of people you need for your industry. Okay, agreed? Okay, sit down. Now, this is the same thing goes to an organization. Any organization. If NIT needs people, they're going to be selecting lecturers and professors and teachers for NIT. Who is to decide who is the guy who will get the job? It is the NIT management, isn't it? Yes or no? Or will you people decide who is the teacher who will come? No, it's only the management that will decide, isn't it? So here is a case where the armed forces, after a lot of debate 10, 15 years, at all levels, unit level, right up to the army headquarters level and joint services level, a lot of discussion had taken place at the army commanders level, and finally they said this is a system which is work for the armed forces. Are you all with me? So they have come up with a system knowing the problems that the armed forces is facing today, and what is the solution that is going to meet its requirement, and what is actually the requirement as far as the armed forces is concerned. And that is how they come up with the Agnipath scheme. Now who is the best judge? It is the armed forces, isn't it? How can Rahul Gandhi decide whether this is a good scheme or not a good scheme? How can the opposition turn around? And it's not a political game we are playing here. It is armed forces which will decide these are the kind of soldiers we need for our battlefront. What is the problem that was faced earlier before the scheme came in? We used to have the recruiting centers which will recruit people into the Army, Navy and the Air Force. Okay, once he is recruited inside, then he gets into a cadre where he is trained as a soldier, and then he goes to his various units, whichever unit he goes into, and starts serving. Invariably, his retirement age used to be earlier, 15, 20 years of compulsory service, then he can take a voluntary retirement and move out. And within this 15, 20 years, he either gets promoted to the next rank based on how good he is, and then keeps moving up the ladder, or he stays where he is, and then he's told go home. And imagine a guy who is around 18 after 12th standard joining the armed forces. After 20 years, what must be his age, or 15 years? He must be in his mid-30s. He must be in his mid-30s, newly married, having a small child, isn't it? And then he is told at 30, 35, 38, go home, you're retired. They'll give him a pension. Now there are two problems in this. One, at a prime age of mid-30s, he is sent from his job. Army has invested huge amounts of money training him, paying him, and he is gone. Okay, he can continue working till about 55, 60, but he is no longer useful to the armed forces because a soldier has to fight the battle in the battlefront. He is not sitting in barracks. So you need young, vibrant people who are actually fit to climb mountains, to walk through the deserts, and to fight battle in the battlefield. You need young people there. You need stronger young people there. Okay, if he's not made the grade to the next higher rank, which is only 20-25% make it, rest of the 75% stagnate at a soldier's level and then leave the armed forces and a pensionable service. So what are the two problems? Your trained people are getting out at a young age, and when he comes out, 90% of these people who come out, who are trained people, disciplined people who have been in the armed forces, generally want to go and sit down in their villages, not move out of their villages, or they will go and take up a security job. That's all is the job content that they will get. Okay, and very few people actually start over all over again from whatever I have seen with my experience. And unfortunately, they are at the age of 38, 35, 38, they are in the middle management level. And nobody will take you into any industry in the middle management level. Nobody will take you. Because they would prefer people coming out of the colleges for the kind of salaries they will be ready to sit. This guy will, although disciplined, sincere, hardworking, everything, but he will be looking at a different pay scale because he is used to a different pay scale in the army. Okay. So, and he is to either take a lesser job with a lesser pay scale, which he may be reluctant, or he may not, or since he has been away from home, he may want to sit in the village and be at home. These are the problems of the exterior people who retire. Those who go up the ladder, they keep going up. Now coming on to the new scheme. So, okay, in the older scheme there was one more problem. All these guys get into pensionable service. So what was happening in the long run was the pension burden in the defense budget was only increasing, bloating. That is, whatever was the defense budget, a major chunk of the budget was going into the giving the pension. So what was happening was there was no money left to Agnipath scheme offered to a individual. Now basically entry into the armed forces is after 12th standard. Entry into the armed forces is after 12th standard. There are entries after 10th standard also, but after 12th standard generally is the entry into Army, Navy and the Air Force. Now, can you tell me, all of you, okay, after you finish your 12th, after all of you have finished your 12th, you took your JEE exam or whatever you took your exam and you landed up in NIT, okay? 4 or 5 years in NIT, you go and take up a job in some industry after this, okay, or most of you will pick up a job. Generally, what is the kind of salary you are looking at? Starting. A fresh out of college, a guy is picked up into industry, what is the kind of salary you are looking at? I am talking about 70%, I am not talking about the brilliant lot. The brilliant lot may end up getting maybe 1 lakh, 2 lakh a month. Now you take a 12th standard guy who joined the armed forces as an Agnipath. He just gets through the selection process, he is physically fit, gets a job. And to get a job, Army spends money on training him. He doesn't have to spend 1 rupee. Then the starting salary is 45,000 a month. He doesn't spend 1 rupee out of that 45,000. His food is free, his travel is free, his medical is free, every damn thing is free. And he is trained free. After 4 years, they give him a package of 12 lakhs. And give him the option. The option is with him. If he wants to form the 25% to climb the ladder, then he has to work hard these 4-5 years. It's not a government job where you get a job and then put your legs up and say my salary will keep coming. Today that's what is happening. 75% of the people in the army don't work. 25% carry the organization, and that's the 80-20 principle which you are all aware of in any organization. Okay, and that's the same with the armed forces also. He has been earning 45,000 a month. He comes back with 12 lakhs package. He is a trained product where he can get into any service which he wants to get in and start a fresh career. Because what would be his age? 18 plus 4, 22. And 22 is a good age to start a full career. And in these 3 or 4 years, if he wants to educate himself to become a graduate, it's like going to college. You have done 4 years in NIT, he has done 4 years in MBBS college, this guy has done 4 years in the army. He is a skilled man in whatever skills he has been taught. But he is drawing higher salary, he is more disciplined, and he is more sincere in whatever he does. And that's what the army trains him to be. And for a normal industry guy, if I am running an industry, I will need this kind of category of people who are skilled in doing job, who are skilled in working. Okay. Now, nobody has taken away the option from him to carry on in the armed forces. If he wanted to carry on in the armed forces, he has to be part of the 25%. Which means from day one he has to work hard. Because he has not worked hard is the reason why he is being sent. But he has been given an option to go and start another career. Army is not your career. Okay, it's not. It's just throwing him out. But what happens with the armed forces is none of the 75% are eligible for pension, and that's where Army is a winner as far as armed forces is concerned, because that money which is saved in pension in the long run goes for modernization of the armed forces. Because budget is limited. We are a country with limited finances. It's not unlimited finances. And whatever money you pump into the armed forces sector, that means money only goes in and nothing comes out. Okay. So you have to be very clear on how much money you can pump in. So it is good for the nation. It is good for the armed forces. It is good for the individual. An individual has a choice to make army its carrier, or armed forces as its carrier, or choose another carrier at an appropriate time. Okay, so in every which way, I see it's a win-win-win kind of a situation. And what happens when 75% of the so-called soldiers are being rotated every 4 years? You absolutely have the young people in the front area. It's not that we are fighting a war daily, but we need young people, strong people rotated into the society. Because these tomorrow become the backbone of the society. Today, you have all kinds of students after finishing their 12th, wasting their time here and there, getting into all kinds of activities, whereas here is a guy who will get trained, get back into the society. So as a society, you are having this constant rotation of people coming into the armed forces and coming out of the armed forces. So there is, I feel it's a win-win-win kind of thing for the country, for the individual, as well as for the armed forces. So there is no way for us to be worried that it is not a good product. And what is being picturized to you by the opposition parties is purely to get vote bank, and that is also not helping the individual who is really needing a job. And all of you are aware very much. I run 2 industries. Today, a guy who has done MTech, I pay him only 15,000 rupees and he jumps job to come to me. For 15,000 rupees, after doing MTech, he jumps job and comes to me. Okay, that is the situation. And here you are getting 45,000 after your 12th standard. I see no reason why there is even a doubt in the mind whether it is worth it or not worth it. Any doubts, anything you want to ask on Agnipath? Or anybody wants to add anything?
Okay, I'll be short. The problem with Agnipath can be seen from 2 points of view. One is the point of view of operational efficiency of the armed forces, right? Because we are the last bastion. We are used when there is nothing other side. There's no question of we failing and somebody else taking over, right? So operational efficiency of the armed forces is very critical. If Agnipath is affecting the operational efficiency to a great deal, then there is genuinely some source of concern. The second point of view is that of looking at armed forces as a career option. We are in armed forces, just the army itself is 1.2 million, right? So there are large parts of this country where the youth train right from childhood. If you go to the villages, right from childhood, you'll find them starting to run 4 o'clock onwards. The entire set of people starts up, gets up and start running. You go to Maharashtra, you go to especially the belt of, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, that triangle all around it. You'll find so many of the youth getting up early in the morning right from the start and just running. A whole lot of them have kept their dreams on joining the armed forces. Why? The general explained. Because for somebody with very less educational qualification, there's no better way than to join the army. It gives you respect, it gives you a decent paycheck, it looks after your family in case of any, God forbid, if something were to happen, your family is looked after. This one. So if it is seen from this point of view, solely from that point of view, right? Not from the operational efficiency point of view. Solely from that point of view, what he's seeing is he's looking at government, a secure job, which will see to it. The moment you get into the army, you're done. Thereafter, you don't need to look anything because even after quitting his job, he'll get a pension. The opposition comes solely from that point of view. But is the armed forces designed to be just that, a career option? Or should it be seen from the point of view of what the general said, operational efficiency? I have spoken to many CEOs, many of the CEOs presently thinking, just to make sure that I'm telling the right thing. Just before coming also, I spoke to 2 of them who are along the line of control. What is your feedback as and date? Because the first set of Agniveers, 26 December, they complete their 4 years. I assure you, all of them, uniformly, at least in the infantry, everyone is really happy about their performance. They are reliable because of what the general was talking about. They have to compete, they have to show their performance. They cannot rest on the laurel that I've got a government job, now nobody can do anything to me, I cannot be shut down, nothing will happen to me, now that I've got a job, I'm going to relax. That doesn't happen anymore. They are accountable every point of time, they are alive to situation, they are learning like no other soldier has ever learned in the first 4 years. They are going to be great assets. I can assure you that much. But if you see solely from the second aspect, there could be issues, right? Next.
Any questions? Any questions on this? Yeah, please.
Operation. What's your ideas on having a longer period? I do follow major. Was once talking about rather than having let's increase 10 years where the army at not at the age of 20 having for only 4 years you don't have that much. Rather if you for 7 to 8 years you will have better experience. What's your idea on?
Okay, a good point. This has been debated threadbare at all levels. What is the right optimum service that will help the soldier to resettle in the new environment and grow in that environment? Because if I am an industrialist, I don't want a old guy joining me. By 7 or 8 years, he is already a seasoned soldier. For him to readapt to the civilian environment and grow will be that much more difficult for him. Okay? And the army will have to keep this guy for 7 years before a new lot of guy comes in. Because unless he is removed, a new guy is not going to come in. Isn't it? So this rotation has been debated threadbare at all levels in the armed forces. And that is how they come to a kind of a understanding that 4 years is a good period. And at the age of 22, he is just out of college. In college, what do? You get a qualification of a BA degree or a BE degree. Here you are coming out as a skilled man after 4 years. That's all is the difference. Probably they will also give you a certification of what skill you are good at. It's like getting a certification after 4 years in NIT. And then you go search for a job. Isn't it? Then you start your own career after that. Same thing happens to this soldier who comes out at the age of 22 and starts a new career in any industry as a skilled person. Okay. So a lot of debate has taken place. Everybody has got different viewpoints, like what Colonel was saying. From the humanitarian point of view, once he's got a government job, then he cannot throw up his leg and sit down. He has to be on his toes all the time. Well, you need to be on your toes all the time if you want to do well in life. Okay? There are no shortcuts to life. That's something all of you should remember. There are no shortcuts, there are no free lunches. Anybody saying that he's giving you a free lunch, that means he's expecting something out of you. Always remember this in life. Okay? Never go by free lunches, never go by shortcuts. There are only 4 principles you should remember, 4 values you should remember. Hard work, sincerity, loyalty and integrity. If you have all these 4, you will always do well in any profession. You join in any job you take up. Okay. Anybody else has got any questions? Anyone? Yeah, we can move on to the next.
It's an interesting viewpoint, sir.
Which one? My idea about me, but you have a different idea, is it? No, that's what was debated at our level. You know, normally what happens is decisions are not taken arbitrarily. This issue is discussed at all levels in the armed forces. So, as a general in the army, we went through all these phases of discussions to come up at finally in the Army Commanders Conference is again discussed, and finally this decision is taken, which is a valued decision. Okay. But basically, our idea is this guy has to restart his life. So 22 is a good age. He's not married. When you go into 28, he may be married. Okay. In Indian context, they'll marry him because they'll say first thing they will say is he's got a government job, and some lady will say he's got a government job, and next day he's out of the army. Okay. So now at 22, he knows he has to start his life, he starts afresh, and like going to a college, that's all. So college is in the armed forces. And then what happens is the society gets cleaned up. You have a bunch of people coming back into the society who are trained soldiers. And they are going to play a useful part in the future because they know what is right, wrong, and they've been taught to be disciplined, they've been taught to be sincere in the job. All that makes a lot of difference. It will definitely make a sea change in the society thinking about the nation.
The national security is not only about the military strength but also the economic resilience. How do you see India's economic policy influencing the global standings?
What your question should be is, are we there as a nation? Are we there to be a power or a superpower? A regional power or a superpower? That's the question which you are trying to ask. Okay. Now, I'll put it this way. Fundamentally, all of you should remember, for any nation to be a regional power or a superpower, you have to have three strong pillars on which the nation should stand. Three strong pillars on which the nation should stand. And what are these three pillars? Anybody can share with me? Anybody knows? Okay, the first one is political will. You need to have a strong political will. You cannot be a strong power if you don't have a political will. If somebody comes and bombs your parliament, you say, okay, theek hai, chalega. Okay, somebody comes and hits you, chalega. You don't have a political will to react, to respond. So you can never be a power to be reckoned with, because it's like among yourself also. If there is a bully who comes and keeps hitting you and you are just all the time hiding yourself, you can never be can you be a power? Will he be afraid of you anytime? It will not happen, isn't it? So political will to hit back is a must. Okay. Second pillar is economy. Because not only hitting back, you have to be able to sustain it after that or during that period. So you need to be an economic power. And when I say economic power, you have to be one of those countries which have tremendous surpluses, tremendous war resources, so that you can actually fight through a battle. Okay. Second one is the economy, a strong economy. And the third one is a strong military. Unless all these three pillars are equally strong, you can never envisage yourself to be a regional power or a superpower. And if you take any of these so-called superpowers like USA or erstwhile USSR or today China, what it's becoming, you will see these three pillars very strong. Political will to do what they want to do. That means there is a decision-making process on the national interest. There is strong economy, and the third one is strong military to enforce what they were saying. So ultimately, to enforce what the political will says, you need to have a strong military to respond. Okay. Now let's take India. India, 15-20 years back, they never had political will. Our parliament was attacked, we didn't do anything. Our country was attacked many times, we did nothing. So the political will was totally missing. Okay, that one element is weak. Economy, we were in the fragile 5 to 10-15 years back, isn't it? Were we not in the fragile 5 in the 10-15 years back? So where was our economy? Military. Now, as far as our military is concerned, I want to make it very clear to all of you, we are not a military designed for offensive operations. I'm just making it very, very clear to you to understand that we are not a military designed for offensive operations. When I say offensive operation, we don't design ourselves to go and capture another country. We are designed to defend our nation. Every inch of our land we want to defend, and that is how we are designed. Okay. Now, with all the things which I told you, what are the changes that have taken place in the last a decade plus. We have shown a lot of political will. For example, when something happened to us, we hit back. The last few incidents that took place from Pakistan, we hit back. So now because we hit back, we have shown the political will. Now because of that, you all know 10 years back or 15 years back, all over India there were bomb blasts. Whether it is Hyderabad or whether it is Chennai or whether it is Coimbatore or whether it is Delhi or wherever you want to imagine, there are bomb blasts going on. Okay. In the last 10 years, have we heard of any bomb blasts in any of these regions? Okay. Everything is quieted down. Pakistan has literally become a redundant country in the last 10 years. Earlier, everything used to be revolving around India and Pakistan. Today, we don't even talk about Pakistan because they have become a totally redundant nation. Okay. So, because of the political will, climbing up the ladder. Economy. From the fragile 5, today we are looking at being the 3rd largest economy in the world. So, we are strong there. Now, military, we are there, but only as a defensive, because culturally, we are not a nation which goes and occupies another nation. That's how we are made. We never think of occupying Pakistan. We never think of going and occupying China. We don't think of occupying Myanmar. Nothing like that. Our thought process is never like that. We don't fight war games like that. We don't even think of going and occupying Sri Lanka. Let me assure you that. Okay. When we went and occupied Bangladesh, we gave it back to them. Probably we are the only nation in the last century where we went and occupied a nation and we gave it back to them. We don't want. Please continue ruling yourself. Okay. So that is how our country is designed. So in this structure, if you are going to be talking about national level being a regional power, I would definitely say we are there, we are reaching there because political will has become stronger, the economy has become stronger, the military is also being invested in by the present dispensation to become strong. Okay, so we can today effectively face Pakistan, face China. Okay, that is how it has been structured. Whether we are going to be a superpower, I don't think so. That's not our thought process at all. We want everybody to be peaceful. We want everybody to be happy. And as Prime Minister keeps telling again and again, this is not an era of war. This should be an era of peace. And everybody should progress. Everybody should remain contented and happy. That is what is the intention, and that is how we have been designed and structured also. But we are not going to take anything lying down. Nobody can come and finger us and we'll say, okay, koi baat nahi, chalta hai. Nothing like that. We will hit back if required because we are strong enough, but we will not come and keep troubling you at all. Okay, whether it is Pakistan or whether even Bangladesh. Trump openly said, go and sort out Bangladesh. In the last visit of the Prime Minister, Trump said, you deal with Bangladesh. But right now, till now, India has neither made a statement nor has it done anything to go inside Bangladesh and sort out anything. Because that's not how we are designed. But things will fall in place. Okay, that's how it works. Does that answer the question? Is there any points to add on this?
Okay, the question was in national security and economy as a part of it, economic security as a major part of it, and what can we do about it, right? So now I just wanted to bring your attention to this term called national security, right? I want you to have a very clear understanding of this term. I'm sure that the very question, it's inherent, economic security is part of national security, right? There are many such things. What is national security? How can we define national security? That's very important. One of the definitions that you find is it's national security is about protecting, preserving, and promoting your national interest. Everything is about national interest. The general covered the part of national interest. What are your national interests? Are you aware of it? There are a few terminologies which I'm not going to discuss in detail because that's an entire topic on its own. I urge you to read about what are your national values. I urge you to read about what is your national aim. I urge you to read about what is the national interest, which comes down from the first two. And then when we talk about national security, there are interim phases after the first three. There's something called national security objectives, which come out of the first three that I talked about. Then from there, we talked about, there's something called national military objectives. Again, there is a deductive a process which comes in. And finally, we come on to this thing called national security, which has multiple facets, as it said. Economy is one of the facets. There is food security, there is water-related security, there's energy-related security, and n number of facets to it, including, of course, military security and nuclear deterrence. I urge you to have a look at it, because if we discuss a lot, I mean, we lose sight of the rest of the topics. Now, she talked about economy. There is this thing, I mean, how do we develop, I mean, it's, I think, part of one of your next questions that you had posed the other day also. What should trigger reforms in military matters? Should it be based on benchmarks achieved in your economy? Because you know about something called comprehensive national power. Are you aware? CNP, national power, comprehensive national power. All right. I urge you, because I don't want to divert and go into a different field. I urge you to read about it. There are a lot of very interesting books on it. Once you understand this, then you will understand the concept of national security in a much clearer manner. I urge you to do that. Thank you.
So adding on point to that, we could see during my civil services preparation days, I would, when I was talking with various Indian foreign service officers, initially when India started with, we were requesting funds from the foreign countries to support our growth. And later we were looking for opportunity, what opportunity they can provide us, kind of like FDI, right? But now we are coupled with FDI. Of course, we are getting in more FDIs. At the same time, we are looking opportunities to invest in other countries. So nowadays, our Indian foreign service officers are directed towards what kind of investments we can do in the other countries. Basically, for example, Tata has acquired Land Rover. You must be knowing that. So likewise, so we seek opportunities to invest and, of course, to get back. Right. So that is one. And as rightly pointed out by CEO sir, that the commanding officer, that the water security is the next agenda, which we should be much caring about that, right? And nutritional security. I mean, nutritional security is another one. The government of India has launched Poshan Abhiyan, right? And of course, there are a lot of things which behind that. India is having a population dividend which have to be rightly invested on them. Without nutritious food or nutritious supplements, right? We cannot have a good brain development. Of course, we talk about brain drain and all. There is no brain, then even brain cannot happen there, right? So the youth in the future, like say, basically what we need to do is that we have to see around all the factors which can support our economic growth. So when national security is a broader term, it should not be seen only with the lens of military power alone. Okay, I think when you have that broader perspective, economic growth will obviously fall in place. Thank you.
Any questions? Anybody? Simple example. You all must be coming from a family. If your family has to be secure, what is needed? Whatever you want to do, your father should be able to afford. If he can't afford, can you be secure? You also have to downsize your thinking. If you want to come to NIT or you want to go abroad for studying, he needs to be able to. You need to be able to invest in you, isn't it? So he needs to be secure economically, whether it is family or whether it is state or whether it is the country. The basic logic is the same. Okay, to ensure security in every aspect of our nation, you need to be having the adequate funds to be able to put it in there, so that your children, or so-called the population, feel secure about the whole thing. If you don't have the economy with you, then somebody is starving somewhere. That's a simple analogy which I can give you. If there are any questions on this particular topic, please ask. We'll be able to cover it. Next.
Thank you, sir. That was an valuable insight.
Due to time constraints, we are up for 2 questions from the audience. Question?
Yeah, please. I'll give it to
It's a very controversial or debatable issue whether to go for drones or fifth generation. I would say both are required. As you see in the Ukraine-Russia war, drones have proved their capabilities. Ukraine were almost able to stall the progress of Russia, or despite being a high military power, it was extensively used. But that's only one part of that. You cannot have complete air superiority with drones. In a all-out war, where there may be a requirement to capture the enemy territory and have a overall superiority over the battlefield, these superior air fighters are also required. So that's why India is investing heavily in on that. As you know, Rafales have already come, but for the fifth generation fighter, we are already invested in. There's something called AMCA. You must have heard about that thing. Advanced Military Combat Aircraft, which is being designed by Aeronautical Development Agency, and by 2027, it will be the first prototype will be flying. So it is supposed to have all these capabilities, stealth capabilities, then other BVR missiles, and all other whatever required for a fifth generation. The engine is supposed to be from F414 from GE. So the drone versus superior fighter, both are required as per the scenario, but as effectively proved in the ongoing war in the Russia-Ukraine war, without drones, drone will be an essential part of any type of battle in the coming ages.
In other words, both are required, and if you can afford it, have both. Go with the next question.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions? Thank you for your question. We will now pass on the mic to Flight Cadet Pujita and Flight Cadet Ankit.
As we draw the insightful panel discussion to a close, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to our team panelists for sharing their valuable experiences and perspectives. Their words have not only enlightened us but also inspired the next generation of civil and defense services aspirants to pursue excellence and unwavering dedication.
We would now like to call upon our faculty advisor for presenting a memento to our guests. We would now like to invite the treasurer of Lakshya to deliver the oath of thanks, expressing our heartfelt gratitude to all those who made this event a resounding success.
Great nations are built on the unwavering dedication of those who serve them with honor and integrity. Today, we have had the privilege of hearing from some of the most distinguished minds in defense services. On behalf of Lakshya 25, I extend my deepest gratitude to our esteemed panelists for sharing their wisdom, experiences, and invaluable insights. Your words have not only enlightened us, but also have instilled a stronger sense of purpose in every aspiring civil and defense service professional here today. A special thanks to our faculty advisor for guiding this discussion with such clarity and depth, ensuring that we gain the most from this session. And of course, a heartfelt appreciation to our incredible audience. Your enthusiasm, your engagement have made this discussion truly meaningful. Check our official Instagram website to get the latest updates on the wide range of events, workshops, and informals lined up for the next 2 days. Just to give an insight, we have the rifle dismantling workshop, parkour workshops,